Hey guys, welcome back to Demon Souls. We're going to go through the entirety of 5-2, which is going to take us a little while because it's a massive swamp area. Definitely my least favourite area in the game, but I think it's just kind of meant to be like that, really. One of the things I'm going to do is equip the Regenerator's Ring, because we're pretty much going to be poisoned for the majority of this level. And with the Adjudicator Shield and the Regenerator's Ring, we shouldn't lose any health from the poison. You might need to have an upgraded Adjudicator Shield for that to happen though. But yeah, the majority of this level I'm going to be poisoned when I'm walking around in the swamp. I'm going to try and get all of the items. I think I got most of them, at least. I think I got all of them, but I'm not sure. Of the items in this area. Honestly, if you're running through this for the first time, I wouldn't even suggest getting a lot of these, but the Murden Hammer there is actually a really good weapon. One of the best weapons in the game, I would say, just for being a basic weapon. You get another copy of the Regenerator's Ring if you didn't get in 4-1. So we're going to be doing a lot of hiking across the swamp. The biggest thing to note about the swamp is you can't roll in it, and when you run, it's not really a run, it's more of a like slog through. So it does take a while to make it over long distances, and this area loves to put items just as far away from each other as possible. I think this item here is like a 10,000 soul packet, so it's actually pretty decent to pick up. I haven't used any of the soul packets yet. I should do that and level up a bit. But honestly, you're going to see by this point we just have so much health that any area becomes a lot easier. I don't actually know what's dying in order to give me some souls there. It just seems to randomly give me souls. I don't know if it's like the depraved ones get poisoned and then died or something. I'm not sure. So I must have missed this item on the first way through the first run through, because we came here to kill Black Phantom Celine Vinland. I must have missed that item. There is another Black Phantom that's always here over on this side of the map. Like the other non-named phantoms, it's not really a big challenge, but they do have a meat cleaver. It probably does decent damage. I don't think I get hit on this occasion. So yeah, there's a bunch of items here. They're just all over the place really. But you don't even really need to come to this left side of the swamp. This is just for, you know, these sort of side items. If you want to make the blue blood sword, you actually need that broken sword there. I think it can also be a drop from some of the dreglings in World 1. But this is the meat cleaver phantom I was talking about. Like, none of these phantoms really have that much health. But the meat cleaver is actually a really good weapon. Get some chunks of faint stone and more ephemeral eyes. So as you can see, I'm pretty much losing no health. Well, I lose health and then I immediately regain it just because of the regen. So you can see how strong that is, and if you get a blessed weapon to +5 and go a sort of faith build, you can see how strong that is. There's also a regeneration miracle you can use that gives you even more regen, and it lasts for about, I think it lasts a minute. So it lasts a decent amount of time as well. Anyway, we're just going to pick up all the items on this side, and then we're going to go to the other side, which we haven't seen at all because we just evacuated out when we killed the Black Phantom before. I'm also going to grab some of the souls on the barricade side, because I think there's like 3 of them that you just need to go down the side of the barricade to get them. This area here, with the giant depraved one, is a lot easier when there isn't another one that's Black Phantom as well. But, as you can see, enemies in general are a lot easier when you're closer to a white world tendency. A good thing is I can be in body form for pretty much the rest of the game. But I'm still going to use that Thieves Ring, because it's just so good. It's like one of the best rings in the game, really. Especially if you're doing something like, you can do hyper mode archer or hyper mode mage, And basically, you get so close to enemies, you can just target them and kill them before they even have a chance to hit you. And most of the enemies in this game are melee. And the ones that have ranged attacks, you can usually dodge fairly easily. So yeah, I'm just going down for these items. I could have picked these up before, and maybe it would have saved me a bit of walk back here. But I think these are just regular souls that you can pick up, so they're not super worth it. And I don't think there's really that much point of having a massive amount of poison resistance here, just because you're probably going to get poisoned regardless. There's an area coming up when you get on the other side of the barricade that will give you... that you'll be on land for a bit, so you might get a bit of a break from the poison there, but if you're trekking through it regardless, you're going to get poisoned anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And yeah, this area is much worse than Blighttown, because at least you can roll in Blighttown. I mean, it's still terrible to get through, but not being able to roll, because you instinctively, you press the roll button, and then you'll see it a bit later when I actually do it, but your feet will get stuck in the swamp, and then yeah, you're kind of just sitting there for a second waiting to get hit, and you just can't move at all. There's also these enemies coming up. I think this is the first time we saw them, but these bugs, they're really hard to hit, and I have to use the R2 to hit them most of the time. They also have a weird grab. I think we see it a bit later on, but it doesn't seem to do much damage to me. It's very annoying. These enemies just suck. They do drop marrowstone and shards at least, but they do love to follow you around. I'm trying to actually hit it here through the wall. Actually, it does work. So I'm going to take the sort of, I don't know what you would call this structure, rickety bridge up here. That attack there is the depraved one's most damaging attack, even though it just kind of looks like they push you a bunch. It seems to do quite a lot of damage. But another thing about the poison is the fact that when you're poisoned, healing items are obviously a lot less effective. But you can see I have so much healing just because most of the time I don't need to heal, and I can just wait for regen to take effect. Especially on a faith build, like I mentioned, you can just stockpile so much grass because you just don't need it. So we're going to take a little bit of a drop down here. I think this is the only way you can get this item. You might be able to... No, it looks like you need to go that way. So we're going to make another trek through the swamp here. I already picked up the duplicate thieves ring that's over to the right there where the Black Phantom was before. But we're going to go around the other side of the barricade. So there's nothing really to the left side there for a while, so we're going to come back to that. But you can see those three items in the distance, and this is probably one of the trickiest areas or enemy spawns in the game. There's 4 giant depraved ones. They can kill you very easily, and they're all in the swamp. You can lure out some of them at a time, but my strategy, quote-unquote strategy, is to basically just use warding and get hit a bunch and just try to kill them as quickly as possible because they're extremely annoying. But you can see that I can block them if I have full stamina, but apart from that I'm getting knocked down. But you can see that warding actually helps quite a lot to take their hits. But you can't roll here at all unless you get onto this little platform here. And I get knocked down again. Pretty much all their attacks knock you down. It's a little easier if you get to the center here and you just keep rolling, but there's 4 of them here and they can easily just gank you completely. So it ends up going pretty well for me because warding lasts a decent amount of time, 40 seconds, so I was able to kill them all. But yeah, that area is not the easiest. The rest of this area doesn't have many items in it, but we're going to go ahead and pick up the large sword of Moonlight, which later became known as the Moonlight Greatsword and other Dark Souls games. So you need to go a bit further into the level here. You'll notice these slugs here. You can go over to the left and pick up an item there, but we're going to go ahead and backtrack to it eventually. So ahead of us you can see this fog gate. That's the way to make progress in the level, and then you get to the boss pretty quickly after the fog gate. There's just kind of like one more area there. But you can also branch off to the left. I just immediately get hit by this guy. These two are a little easier to handle because you actually have some room to work with. Also, I would try and kill the shaman here as quickly as possible. I think they do various attacks like poison cloud and stuff, so you just don't want them hanging about for longer than you need to. Yeah, these guys do decent damage even now. I don't know how that one hit me, I'll be honest there. I'm a bit confused about that one. So now we're going to head over to the left. I think there is some more Black Phantoms here if you have Black World tendency, but obviously I don't. And there is some of the worst enemies in the game. That's what it looks like when you try to roll. And it takes so long as well. But you instinctively do it because you're like, oh, I've got to roll out of the way of an attack. This area is just terrible. I mean, if you run directly through, it's actually not so bad. But if you try and get like any of these side items here, and you have to trek through the entire swamp, it's just a nightmare. If you go straight ahead and you just avoid everything and just kind of like run past everything that you can and just go through that fog gate, it's not too bad. I don't know why, but these slug enemies seem to be a lot less aggressive than the ones in 4-2. Like, they don't seem to attack for a while. But the main thing we're going up here for is this slug pile here, I guess you could call it. If you go and hit it, I think it's like 5 or 6 times, it'll drop down, and it will have the large sword of Moonlight in this pile here. You're going to have to go down and collect it, but that's the only way to actually get it down. And then conveniently there's a way to actually get down on this side. And a little cheeky item here as well. And easily just drop down on here, and there you go. I keep picking up the sucker stone, but like I'm never actually going to use that ever, so it's like kind of no point in doing that. Sucker stone is for bleeding weapons, which are generally not that great anyway. I mean, the constant damage is okay, but yeah, it's not fantastic. So, the large sword of Moonlight is kind of interesting because it's a weapon that you can't actually block, or the damage will go through shields, basically. Sort of like Blind is exactly the same way. It also has magic reduction on it as well, if you block with it, I believe, which is kind of nice.
Hey, I know you. Won't you buy something? My poor child is sick. He needs your help. Finished already? You wretched penny pincher. Just let the children of the poor die, is that it?
And yeah, just to make it obvious, the large sword of Moonlight is actually a faith weapon in this game. When usually in the other games it became a magic weapon, or magic scaling weapon I should say. So the last part of this area is kind of like this rickety town here. There's quite a lot of enemies here, just all over the place, and they like to ambush you as much as they can. But there isn't that much to actually do here. There's quite a few items around the place that you don't necessarily need to get, because like rotten arrows here, etc. I decided to go back up this way to get the other ones. But yeah, there's also a shortcut at the end of the level that you can take all the way back down to the start, just in case you die on the boss. But one thing you'll notice with Demon Souls is the bosses tend to be relatively easy. Most of them at least. The areas tend to be a lot harder than the bosses. So, I mean, it's nice that there's a shortcut, but the boss shouldn't really give you too much trouble unless you're coming there really, really early. But it's always nice to have a shortcut, of course. Gonna get up on the platform here. Don't know how the shaman got down here, but actually managed to reach him with the R2 there, which is nice. I think that in Demon Souls, whatever world you go to last is going to be pretty easy, just because you get so many souls from doing some of the other levels. And it seems like enemies don't do that much damage if you level up a bit. Now, of course, every time you level, you get physical defense as well. So the same as Bloodborne, even just leveling makes you stronger and able to make more mistakes. But if you level Vitality, like I'm approaching 40 Vitality, I think I'll have by the end of this video. It's just a ridiculous amount of health. Now, New Game Plus in Demon Souls, I think I tried it once, but I remember it actually being quite difficult because it does ramp up the damage and stuff quite a lot. But once again, I don't know. New Game Plus never really did it for me for these games, unless like I really wanted to do something on it. But in terms of this playthrough, try to use the Northern Regalia. You basically get at the end of the game, or in New Game Plus, if you don't use a certain trick that I'll use at the end. So you don't even get your upgraded weapon until the end. But the Demon Brand is pretty much a light version of that. It only upgrades it to about 540 attack rating, I believe, which is still 60 more attack, but it's not super amazing, you know. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and open the shortcut, which just involves running across the left side of this area. And of course there's more of these. I hate them. I almost fall off the edge there because I'm trying to kill it as well. Yeah, this is the weird grab that I mentioned before. It does like no damage. I guess it probably poisons you if you're not poisoned already like I am. But in this case it didn't really matter. It just holds you there for a while as you just watch. Pretty much. You could very easily go off the edge and have to run all the way back, though, is one of the concerns with this. Yeah, I'm not even going to bother to get that item. But after unless you need to go and pick up anything in the swamp later on, as long as you kill the boss, you really shouldn't need to use the shortcut to begin with. I almost missed this crystal lizard as well, but I just managed to hit the edge there. I think it got stuck. It also drops a pure faint stone from me, which is, I think, pretty rare. Pure faint stone, you can get a guaranteed one from one of the apprentices of Sage Urbane, but you need to have 20 faith in order for her to give it to you. And Faint Stone is for the Blessed Weapons. So obviously any Faith build will probably want that. If you're doing a Faith build, I would probably suggest using the Murden Hammer that I picked up earlier in this level. Just because it's such a good halberd weapon. And this particular enemy down here will actually drop the Shaman set. Not that you would have any indication that he was going to do that, but he just drops the Shaman set of gear. And then you can run back to the Rickety Town from here. So I think we've cleared out pretty much everything here, except a few items on the other side. There's a few hidden items on that upper level that I'm going to try and get here as well. Not these ones, these are in plain sight. But yeah, as long as you take your time. This area just likes to try and gank you a lot, but if you're patient and you just kind of either walk around with a shield up or just take your time, it's not too bad. I just hate the swamp. This area isn't so bad. Just completely miss here several times. Yeah, good. And I'm trying to figure out exactly where I was mentioning, because you can jump up here, but there is a few items that I do miss, I think. There's the front there. Once again, get hit by their most damaging attack, of course. Seriously, their weapons don't do as much damage as their push for some reason. So I get a bit lost here, because I'm looking for this item in particular and I forget where it is. But I'm like, oh, it should be up here somewhere. And then there's this soul over here. But I eventually find it, I think. I think it was behind one of the walls on the other side here. And just past this is going to be the boss, who's not going to last very long. He has some relatively strong attacks that can knock you down. He also has this ranged ability. I think he puts like fleas or locusts on you. You can burn them by going to one of the torches in his boss area and kind of burning them off. But they do kind of a damage over time, kind of like the Leechmonger, the first boss of this world, can as well. But as long as you keep your distance, like, I think he has to start here. Yeah, if you get hit by that, that's kind of the damage over time. But he's very slow, and his attacks are very, very telegraphed. Like that, obviously you want to get out of the way because it's just an AoE ability. And he's very, very slow with his swings in general. And that's it, pretty much. So yeah, kind of a relatively easy boss after a pretty difficult area, I would say. So hopefully you don't need to go through it multiple times. What we're going to do now is we're going to head to the Archdemon on World 4 and do that boss, and then that's pretty much going to be it for this episode. I'm looking around for this last item here and I couldn't find it. Just some dark moon grass, which is good. Good healing item. Also restores any statuses that you may have as well. the first thing I do is I actually go and swap to the Ring of Avarice, just because the Archdemon fights are not actually very difficult most of the time, and they generally have a gimmick to them. So this one, you might be struggling to figure out how a melee character does anything here, and the reason for that is there is a ranged sword that if you run all the way over here and pass a couple crystal lizards, you'll actually pick up a sword here. There's another crystal lizard, but I think it ran the other way. I just didn't actually see it there. I don't think I would have caught it anyway. So the Storm Ruler, and it's pretty much useful in this area only, in PvE at least. So we need to kill some of these storm beasts in the air to begin with, and when you kill enough of them, the Storm King will come down. They can be a little annoying to target sometimes just because there's so many of them to begin with, but they'll turn to you when they're about to go and attack you like that. The range doesn't go that far though, as you can see. Of course, if you have magic or a ranged attack at all, like a bow, you can pretty much just skip this entire part here and just kill them with your bow. But I haven't even bothered with the bow at all, it hasn't been necessary. Try to get some cheap hits there. I think the boss is coming down, and I didn't even notice it at all, so I actually get hit a lot by all of his, the spears that he summons. Worth noting is if you two-hand the Storm Ruler, it will do more damage. I only get a couple hits on it, but it's going to turn around and do another pass now. So I always manage to get hit by the Storm King for some reason. Because basically just all he does is he fires a bunch of spears at the start here. But I think I was standing too close to this rock and I actually get hit by the AoE, which wasn't ideal. Yeah, I just get hit there. With warding on, it does pretty much no damage, but it just knocks you down and annoys me. So it's going to take another pass for us to actually kill him, but doing pretty decent damage to him now. And yeah, this boss is pretty much the Yorm boss from Dark Souls 3. Or well, the Yorm boss is exactly like this. Although you can at least kill Yorm very painfully without using the Storm Ruler if you're melee. But like here, I'm confused about how I even got hit here, to be honest. Because like I just wait for ages and then I get hit by on the left there. I guess it has pretty decent AoE, but and then that's the boss pretty much. So all you need to do is kill one of the Archdemons in order to unlock 1-3. You could do 3-3 or 2-3 as well, of course, but I decided to do this one because we're actually going to get an item out of it. So the short sword plus 8, I think I've actually got to pick it up from storage. We're going to make that into the Morian Blade in order to do some potential hyper mode stuff. I haven't really done it at all this playthrough yet, so I might do it on the boss of 1-3 just to show it. But basically we're going to get our health to under 30% and then see how much damage we can do in hyper mode. So it'll be interesting to see that. This definitely isn't the most damaging build you could do in this game, but it's a very safe build that you can make a lot of mistakes on just because you don't need to pump a damage stat. So I think this is honestly really good for beginners. If you can do the cheese with Black Phantoms and the cheese with Old King Dorn at the start, you'll actually have a pretty easy time throughout this game. So it'll be interesting to see if the Demon Brand is exactly the same in the remake. So it gives you that little message, just pretty much letting you know that you can go to 1-3 if you've seen the fog in it before, after the Tower Knight. But the last thing we're going to do, of course we're going to level up, and we get to 40 vitality, which is just a ridiculous amount for a new game cycle, pretty much. We're going to deposit everything that we have, which does take a while.
Hello again.
And we're going to pick up the short sword +8 that we got from storage, and make the Amorium blade with it. So, we're going to have the Amorium blade and the Cleaver rat's ring. They're actually multiplicative as well, so I think you do like 1.4 times,
You have a
well, bonus damage. So it's actually a ridiculous amount of damage that you do. But as you can see, I pick up the Mako as well, because that would be the item that we need to use in order to drain our health. Or it's an easier way to do it, basically. Because when you have the Mako out, it slowly drains your HP per second. So that's pretty much it for this episode. We're going to go ahead and make the Amorium blade. And then I'm going to say I'll see you guys next time on Demon Souls.
all done? All done?